All right. So Rosemary says, "Hey Matt, why is it when we are completely willing to walk away and pretty much over him, he comes back? And at that point, I'm still done because he didn't want to show interest when I was showing interest." Because of exactly what we were just talking about, Rosemary. We were talking about the different types of power dynamics, right? And so, generally speaking, when you care less, a guy that's interested in you will start pursuing you and investing in you and being interested in you, right? So what happened was you were probably, showing all this interest and pursuing him and giving to him and doing things and investing in him. And he was taking that for granted because of something called the law of familiarity, right? And so what ends up happening is you start pulling back because you're like, hey, this guy's not really that interested in me, and he's not trying, and he's not doing all the things that he should be doing, a guy should be doing in a relationship to show me that he's interested. And so you pull back, and what happens is you create this vacuum. And once that vacuum is created, he has a choice. He can either walk away or he can fill in that vacuum, that gap that you've created, which is why it's so important to lean back. Right. And like there's some things out there where sometimes women will talk about this thing of ignoring men, which I do not recommend that you ignore men. There are some situations where you do want to ignore men, right? When a guy's not right for you, when a guy's mistreating you, when a guy does certain things, right? And you need to pull your attention and your interest in yourself out of that situation. That's the only time that you would ever want to ignore a man. Outside of that, I suggest that you don't ignore men because that can be abusive, but it can work with some men who like that kind of a thing, right? Which is a small percentage of men who actually get off on getting ignored and all that kind of stuff. But it does work some of the time, right? Because he is investing in you. He's moving forward. There's that gap and he's going, oh, I want to get in that gap. And I don't have this power anymore, right? That's the power dynamic. When power, a lot of people freak out when I talk about power. All that power really means is that it's your ability to get what you want, right? And so if you're in a situation and you are trying to do everything and he's kind of leaning back, he's in the power position because he's able to get what he wants. He doesn't have to do anything to get it. He can just kind of, shine a light and tell you which way to go, and you'll go in that way in order to do things and make things work because you're chasing, you're investing, you're pursuing, you're starting to get this mentality where you're, doing everything and you don't want to lose him, right? And so when you pull back, that takes that power away from him, and all of a sudden you get more on an even power scale, right? And what researchers have found, there's been a lot of research that has been done on power dynamics in relationships, and what they found is that when you're in a relationship, the amount of attraction that somebody has for you is based on how much power you have. So if you have a lot of power, which is generally speaking like, people that are really out of touch, like, really successful people, celebrities, people that you could never get with, they tend to have a lot of power in just about any kind of situation from a perspective, right? Your perspective is that they have a lot of power. And so they can tend to have lots of people that chase them and they're in love with them and all that kind of stuff, right? Well, in a relationship, you want to have equal power. But before you get into a committed relationship, you want to have a slightly more power than your partner in the situation, which is what I'm teaching you. I'm teaching you how to set yourself up so that you're not giving all your power away and putting yourself into a situation where you might get hurt, right? And instead, the guy's attracted to you, he's interested in you, and if you end up losing your power, what ends up happening is when his power goes up and yours goes down, is he starts losing interest, he starts thinking that maybe this isn't something that he wants, but you pull back and your power goes back up, and all of a sudden he's interested and he wants more, and he really likes you, and it's just, it's not fair, it's not right, it's not how things should be, but it is, right? That's how things are. And there's a power dynamic, and you always want to have the upper hand until you're in a committed relationship. If you're having problems and challenges and the guy's confused or not sure or any of that kind of stuff, you want to put yourself into a position of power.